New day, new weekend, new tournaments to go through. Yep, this also means new selections of stages we can able to discover through that we have not seen yet. So, hey, what's up everybody? It is I am the one and only Ray the Flying Squirrel here. And I'm Mighty the Armadillo here. Welcome you dudes, welcome back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos once again. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Mario Slam Basketball, aka Mario Hoops 3-on-3 for the Nintendo DS. So, I believe in last weekend, despite the fact that it only uploads during on last Sunday, it's the fact that we actually did tackle through the Mushroom Tournament, or Mushroom Tourney and stuff like that. And overall, we actually did that pretty good, all things considered, especially because that was by far the easiest cup we can able to go through. So today, we're going to be hit on to the next cup in this game, which appears to be the Flower Tourney. So, in some cases though, once again, we'll go for 3 stages. So, in some cases though, we'll go for a different character combination. So in this case, we do have Wario, Waluigi, and also we might as well bring an unlockable character to the table, which is the Paratrooper. So, yep, I think that'll be an interesting combination, all things considered. So, yeah, let's begin. The Flower Tourney. So, in some cases though, the first match we're first up against is Donkey Kong, Fly Guy, and Bowser Jr. Taking place in DK Cruiser. Interesting stage name, as well as the environment as far as this is concerned. So obviously we're about the fact that we'll still have to able to score baskets and stuff like that. And also, we've decided able to change the different basketball type. In this case, we actually got ourselves the watermelon ball. So in this case though, well, it's all for cosmetics anyway, so I don't think it actually differs the forms of the status quo and stuff like that. But I do know for the fact that, speaking of Donkey Kong actually, oh son of a... whatever. Anyway, speaking of which though, is the fact that recently, for any other toys out there, that recently they managed able to get started with the forms of, well, I do know for the fact that ever since on Monday, the 2nd of January, that we actually got started with the next Donkey Kong Let's Play, which appears to be Donkey Kong 64 for the Nintendo 64. And so far, it's actually going pretty alright and stuff like that. Although, despite the fact that we have to play as on the Wii U Virtual Console re-release version of the game, despite the fact that it's a bit dimmed in some areas, specifically with the lack of colors and stuff like that, because it feels a bit kind of gloomy sometimes. And also same applies with the fact that there's no full screen option. So in this case though, we have to deal with this whole like retro vibes or anything else like that. Just like Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3. So in some cases though, I don't think anyone else is going to be bothered about that. So I gotta say this right now. And on top of all that stuff though, we also decided able to get started with not only Donkey Kong 64, but also Ape Escape as well on the PlayStation. So it's like multiple monkey-based games in that particular beginning portion of 2023. Although mind you about the fact that we only got about next month until whenever we get something we're mostly excited for, which is of course Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe for the Switch, so that way we can able to maybe potentially try to do a Let's Play of the game exponentially at some point, but we'll see what happens until when that game finally comes out on the Switch. So yeah, anyway though, but that's besides the point. So speaking of which though, is the fact that I think, relatively speaking, today's date is of course the is the 7th of January today. Excuse me, I've got something stuck in my throat there, I do apologize for that. But yeah, like I said, today's date is of course the 7th of January today, in this case in 2023 today. So in some cases though, not much else is going on at the moment, apart from the fact that, well, let's continue with the forms of that. Oh, lucky shot for Donkey Kong, that's a bit of a nuisance. Well, thankfully it's only like 21 points, but we still need to aim for about so many points than any other opposing team. For likely or so, we need to get for about 200 points or more. So exponentially speaking though, we do need to able to grind as many of those coins as we possibly could, despite the fact that we keep on getting owned by certain items like red shells or anything else to be more specific. But either way though, it knows what it is, I guess. Oh yeah, in terms of DK Cruiser as a stage itself, it's pretty simple for the most part, although there are a few hazards you do need to worry about sometimes though, but either way though, I don't think we actually stumbled across into certain hazards just yet. Although, if we move on to the forms of, let's just say whenever we get to the third stage of this cup, I will say for this point, I'm really not looking forward with the third and final stage, if for the sake of this cup, because it does have this very annoying mechanic, where basically though you have to get that specific shot on that specific timing requirement, and because of that though, that's the reason why about the fact that it actually took us a bit lengthy as far as this video processing as far as this is concerned, but either way though, that's as far as saying goes, so in it goes. So yeah, let's talk about the forms of the continuation of the last games to ever come out for the sake of certain systems. Like, I think we briefly mentioned about this ever since in the last video from the likes of last Sunday, that basically the final game has been released on the Bandai WonderSwan was actually Tetris, which came out in 2002, which is about 3.1 years after the console's been released in 1990, I would say 1998 or something, or 1999, although I wasn't paying attention to that at all, so forgive me if I botched anything else up. And the final game has been released on the original Game Boy, which appears to be the Japanese RPG game, which appears to be One Piece no Naboashi no Grand Line Bokawaski. Usually came out in 2002 in, well, for the Game Boy, which is about 13.2 years after the console's been released, ever since in 1989 or something like this. So, yeah, that seems kind of crazy, kind of thinking about it. And the final game is being released for the Nintendo 64, which it might be seems very obvious as far as we obviously somewhat already noticed about this. And that's what appears to be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and that came out in 2002 on the N64 version, because as far as I'm aware, they do have multiple versions of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, kind of thinking about it. So, anyway, for the N64 version came out, as I said before, since 2002, which is about 6.2 years after the console's been released, ever since in 1996, so I know it's a bit of a short time frame, but regardless of such though, it's nice to be able to actually see the final Tony Hawk game to be appeared on the Nintendo 64 before they moved on to the next generations of consoles as far as games wise, as far as this is concerned, until Pro Skater 4 and anything else to be more specific. So we still have no idea when does the Pro Skater 3 and 4 HD remaster is going to be on there. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there, especially noticeable about the fact that we just got started with, you know, oh wow, we just managed able to get that in, like, right off the gate. That's actually top notch. Anyway, the final game is being released on the Game Boy Color, which appears to be Doraemon no Study Boy Kaniji. I can't pronounce that name very well, I do apologize for that, dudes. That game came out in 2003, which is about 4.7 years after the console's been released, ever since in 1998, or something like this. It could be one of those emphases though, Mighty, it could be one of those emphases, I guess, so... But there we go, we did somehow win at the end, so kudos for DK Cruiser, so nice. So now we'll move on to, the next match. So in this case though, we're now on to round 2, so let's see what opponents are we face up against. In this case we have Luigi, Boo, and Yoshi. So in this case the next stage we hit on to is Luigi Mansion. Oh yeah, it seems very obvious because we see the some familiar ghosts ever since in, well, what else? Luigi's Mansion. So yeah, it's nice to see the Luigi's Mansion stage in the entire court. So in some cases though, it's the fact that we can able to actually like, well, score some more scores or score some more baskets. Especially noticeable that the basket itself is actually on the chandelier, which is actually pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. So anyways though, the final game is being released on the Bandai WonderSwan Color was actually Dicing Night Period. So in this case though, that game came out in 2004, which is roughly about 3.5 years after the actual, well, you know, the Bandai Wonders 1 color did exist until 1999. So, again, I do apologize if my commentary gets a bit awkward, especially noticeable because I almost got something stuck in my throat, so I do apologize for that. So, yeah, I guess it's that, as far as I would like to point things out. So, anyway, the final game has been released on the Neo Geo, which appears to be Samurai Showdown 5 Special, which came out in 2004, which is about 13.5 years after the console's been released, since in 1991. So, yeah, time flies, doesn't it, with all that last games, all things considered, with all that console lifespans and stuff. So, and the final game has been released on the original PlayStation, which appears to be Skullnappy's 3 Fun Games, which came out in 2005, which is roughly 10.2 years after the console's been released, since technically 1995 or 1994 in Japan or something, but that's as far as saying goes. I think that's as far as I can try to explain about this. And, oh, seriously? Darn you, Yoshi. Darn you. At least we're almost at 100 coins though. Even though sometimes trying to steal the ball sometimes though, it feels a bit kind of finicky at points because you still need to able to utilize the stylus sometimes, so... But there goes the actual basket itself. And good thing we managed to get away with this, especially noticeable that we actually learned, well, just trying to able to actually, like, we didn't actually learn, the special shots, because as far as I'm aware, if we decide to stand completely still for a little bit of time, then obviously about the fact that we will gonna get hit by certain opponents and stuff, so... But I digress though. The final game has been released on the Nokia N-Gage, which appears to be buddy forms of Hammerman 40,000 Glory in Death, which came out in 2006. I'm guessing the reason why that game is usually exists in 2006, because obviously the N-Gage is a completely flopped mobile game device, and on top of all that stuff though, oh jeez, we were so close! Anyway, because obviously the lifespan of the Nokia N-Gage didn't seem to last for a very long time. It only lasted until 2.5 years. So in some cases though, yeah, the N-Gage came out in 2003. So speaking of the Nokia N-Gage, that as far as I'm aware, this year will mark the 20th anniversary of the Nokia N-Gage. Well, despite it's a bit flopped though, but we only got 2 games so far, which the obvious being the forms of Sonic N, which is of course basically the port of Sonic Events but on mobile devices, and on top of that the Super Monkey Ball game, which if you guys are probably wondering about the fact that what happened to the forms of our continuation of the Super Monkey Ball Let's Plays after the events of well, let's just say the original Super Monkey Ball for that matter. Well, long story short though, it's probably because we just need able to get certain stuff done before we go and continue things on with certain franchises as far as I'm aware. Well, mind you, for this point guys, it's just the fact that it does take us some bit of time to able to actually just get back into this entire process of, well, uploading schedules as far as this is concerned. Yeah, it seems true for that circumstances anyway, so... But sometimes it takes time, or sometimes it takes some time to get used to with all that, well, slow down moments or anything else like that, so... But I digress. The final game is being released on the likes of the forms of one of those next console lifespans is the Sega Dreamcast, and the final game on that console was actually Kairos, which that game came out in 2007. Jeez, it seems that it's gone a bit longer than I expected. So, for that particular reason, that game did somehow manage to exist in just about 8.3 years after the console's been released in 1998, or in some cases though 1999 from anywhere else. So, interesting. And the final game has been released on the Nintendo GameCube, which appears to be Madden NFL or NFL 08, which came out in 2007, which is about 5.9 years after the system has been launched since 2001, so that's to be expected by this point. The final game has been released on the Game Boy Advance, which appears to be Pixeline Pixieland, which came out in 2007. I'm sure this is their Japanese exclusive, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but regardless of such though, that particular game has been out well, relatively speaking though, that game came out just about 6.6 years after the console's been released, since also in 2001, I believe. So, although I may be wrong, but forgive me if I somehow managed to make things a bit awkward when it comes to commentary, so... Anyway, the final game has been released on the original Xbox, which appears to be Modern NFL 09. So it's kind of similar to the GameCube, doesn't it? Except, basically, it just gets like a different number year. So in some cases, though, the GameCube somehow ended up with 08, and then the original Xbox ended up with 09. So in some cases, though, it came out in 2008. So in some cases, though, that game came out just about 6.7 years after the original Xbox has been first released, so yeah, it seems a little bit interesting. And the final game has been released on the PlayStation 2, which appears to be by the forms of Pro Evolution Soccer 2014, which came out in 2013, which is about 13.7 years after the console's been released, since in 2000. So, yeah, time flies, doesn't it? And I think if I recall correctly, the PlayStation 2 lasts a lot longer than the forms of how it does it on any other systems, which is pretty impressive, all things considered. Yeah, tell me about it though, Mighty. Tell me all about it. So, hooray, we somehow win on this match, and I believe we're now moved on to the finals in the Flower Cup. And as I said before, I'm not really looking forward to the next and final match of this cup because, well, first of all, we're first up against with Daisy, Bodo, and Dixie Kong, which are all female characters. And here we are onto Daisy Garden. Now, to me though, this particular stage is probably my least favorite stage in the game. Not because it's not bland or anything, it's rather just because of this very annoying mechanic, where basically, in order able to actually just score the baskets, or should I say, PD Piranha, because in order able to score baskets onto the PD Piranha or something, basically though, we need to do that correct formation where it comes to able to, or getting this correct method for able to actually score the score for the sake of the forms of trying to score the actual PD Piranha itself. Because if you're trying to able to do like a run up and trying to jump method, basically though, what happens is though is that the PD Piranha will knock you back and lose coins. And also if you accidentally use the special move, basically that also counts as knocked out, especially noticeable. I think in order to make this work, you have to be dead straight on in order able to make this shot if you want able to pull off a special move on you. So, yeah, oh no, this is definitely one of our least favorite levels of the game, just because of this very annoying mechanic. Yeah, I think that's about it basically though, Mighty. That's pretty much about it, so... But at least the music is kind of relaxing and stuff, but that's the only good part about the stage, but that's just me. Anyway though, the final game has been released on the PlayStation Portable of any sort, which appears to be Pro Hyakeru Spirits 2014, which came out during 2014, which was the Japanese exclusive baseball game, which is about 9.3 years after the console's been released ever since in 2004, to able to compete with the Nintendo DS. And speaking of the Nintendo DS though, the final game has been released on the Nintendo DS, which is actually a Disney game, which appears to be Disney Big Hero 6 Battle in the Bay. So in some cases though, that game came out in 2014, around the same year as when the movie came out. So, and that particular game has been released since likely 9.9 years after the console's been released, since in, I would say in November in 2004. So yeah, it's almost like 10 years whenever that happens. So, pretty insane. Yeah, tell me about it. Anyways, the final game is being released on the PlayStation 3, which appears to be FIFA 19, which obviously is just a football game with what you expect. That game came out in 2018, and to be more specifically, it's been released since likely 11.9 years after the console's been released, since, I would classify for saying, since in 2006 or 2007. I would say 2006, actually, so... And the final game has been released on the Wii U, despite the Wii U was also incredibly flopped as well. But that's only mainly because, obviously, with this terrible marketing and stuff like that. And, yeah, believe it or not though, the last game on the Wii U to be released on is actually a Just Dance game. Specifically, Just Dance 2019, which did usually came out in 2018. And as a result, that game has been released since likely 5.9 years after the system's been released, ever since in 2012. So, yeah, not much else to say about this point. And the final game has been released on the Xbox 360, which is ironically the same game as the Wii U version, which is, well, of course, Just Dance 2019. So in this case though, came out the same year, so except that particular version of Just Dance 2019 has been out for likely since during the forums about the fact that with 12.9 years after the console's been released since 2005. So, yeah, time flies, you know? And the final game is being released on the Nintendo 3DS, which is specifically Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, which is about 8 years after the console's been released since 2011. Because obviously Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn came out in 2019, so that's when the actual 3DS sales points starts to get a bit more of a downfall. So, and lastly, the final game is being released on the Wii, which is actually Just Dance 2020. Oh, don't tell me I said that that bad number. I believe so, bro. I believe so. Oh yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. That game has been out since 2019, which is about 13 years after the console's been released since 2006. So, yeah, time flies, you know? And I suppose the last thing I want to point out, in terms of the top 5 longest lifespan, well, it's hard to explain really, but as far as I know, that's, I think that's about it, basically. I mean, sure, I have no idea why I explain things like this, especially because, well, there's not much news going on at the moment, though, sadly. But until eventually, possibly by that time until next month, which should be in February, then we should probably be able to mention more details about some other stuff in the future, so... Yeah, because that'll be the ultimate way to able to actually mention about tons of stuff, like literally tons of stuff. Oh, and also Journey informs that since this is now 2023 after all, this also means that it marks the 20th anniversary of the release of Sonic X anime. So in some cases though, yeah, that might be something it's a bit interesting to able to bring up for this topic, especially because, well, relatively speaking though, I think that's as far as I can talk about for the sake of the forms of news, updates, or anything else to be more specific. It's just, well, I just can't believe those things are going way too fast when it comes to final games alike, but that's as far as saying goes, that's pretty much as far as I can usually try and describe it, so... But, yeah, that's as far as saying goes, that's about it. Oh yeah, there are a few times though that the PD Piranha will decide to able to go into this very weird sound whenever they start to sleep or something like that, as far as I'm concerned. Basically though is the fact that, well, that might be your only opportunity that you can able to score points. Well, it all depends really though, just because the only downside to this though is the fact that sometimes it might felt a bit extremely luck-based at times. Well, especially noticeable that since we got ourselves the original copy of the game of Mario Slam Basketball, that I think this is the stage that I somehow almost give up on, especially because, for the love of God, I keep on screwing up with all that, not only for its controls, but also trying to score points on that specific shots you have to aim for from that PD Piranha. But either way though, luckily though, we did somehow win at the end, so in this case though, not much right to home about, so... And also, since we score a lot of points, so in some cases though, we can able to expect that we get ourselves, what else? A glorious gold trophy. So in some cases though, we will once again get 3 unlockables, like for example, we'll get ourselves a new unlockable character, like Dixie Kong. Okay, that's interesting. And also we get ourselves the alternating the outfit for Daisy or something. And finally, a new ball, which, if I recall correctly, it is supposedly going to be forms of the Yoshi's Egg. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and change that quickly before we end off the video for this point right here. So, yeah, that's pretty much as far as you can say. Just a Yoshi's egg, and that's about it, basically. So, anyways, though, so let's go ahead and leave, and hopefully we'll end off the video right here. So join us tomorrow for more of Let's Play of Mario Slam Basketball, or Mario Hoops 3-on-3. Is the fact that we'll move on to, probably in my opinion, is one of the hardest cups in the game, in my opinion, which appears to be the Star Tourney, or in some cases, the Star Cup. So, wish of luck, I guess, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later, dudes.